Hi, Melissa Deely here, Integrative Health Practitioner. And I am here this month of October. I'm going to be talking to you about hormones. Last month I focused on gut health, and this month I'm shifting that focus to hormones. Today I'm going to be starting with estrogen, and I will go through all of the sex hormones, so this is not targeted just at women. And after we finish the sex hormones, we're going to go into cortisol and the impact that that has on our body. But I wanted to start with little tidbits each time that I come live to talk about the different hormones because, quite honestly, until I went back to school and did my health coaching and did my integrative health practitioner, I had never even done biology in high school. And even if I had, that was so long ago that I'm quite sure I wouldn't remember most of it. And so maybe there's some of you like that out there. And even, like obviously I knew of estrogen, I knew of progesterone, testosterone, etc., but I didn't really know what they did. I knew our hormones shifted throughout our life. And really, so much of what I learned has just been from my own struggles and experiences. And so I want to bring that to light and share that here. And in fact, my newsletter went out yesterday and it was telling the story of my own struggles with hormones throughout my life and how the different shifts as they changed required me to bring them back into balance. Our body always wants to be in balance, and it's like this fine-tuned balancing act. And we start to get symptoms when we are out of balance. And that's when we can start to say, hang on a minute, what's going on here? And how can I bring my body back into balance? So, first of all, as I'm sure you're aware, estrogen is really what's responsible for giving females our female features, but men do also have estrogen. They just have it to a lesser degree. And a common problem in this day and age is something called estrogen dominance, which can actually impact men as well. And sometimes you see men that start to have some degree of breast development, and that is an indication that they have estrogen dominance. And what does estrogen dominance mean? That's the ratio between estrogen and progesterone. And as I said, we want them to be in balance. But what happens often is we have too much estrogen and not enough progesterone, and that creates estrogen dominance. And why does this happen? Well, there's a lot of chemicals out there in our world today that mimic estrogen in the body. There's also natural plant-based foods that can mimic estrogen in the body. And so we have to be aware of this and just be careful of what our intake is. For me, an experience that I had was with soy. And I already knew that I struggled with estrogen dominance, and I had been taking a tincture to help boost my progesterone. And at one point, I started drinking soy milk, not realizing how high estrogen is in soy. And I was drinking soy milk to avoid the hormones that are often added to dairy milk or to cows to fatten them up, etc. And those hormones flow through to us. So I was trying to do one thing to avoid the hormones of the other, but I still ended up with getting wicked migraines. And those migraines were triggered by my body once again going back into a state of estrogen dominance as a result of the soy. I wasn't in health and wellness then, but I did call my naturopath and go, what's going on here? And she said, easiest thing to do is stop drinking soy milk, see if the migraines go away. And sure enough, they did. And it was then that I realized just how sensitive my body was to getting out of balance between my estrogen and my progesterone levels. So it's something that I've really had to work at in order to not get migraines, because who wants to live with migraines? And as I've come into menopause, it's shifted again, and so I've had to help bring my body back into balance. And I'm totally able to do that using natural supplements and herbs that help boost my progesterone levels. So I just wanted to talk about the fact that there are actually 4 different types of estrogens, 3 of them that we can test for. The first one you're probably very familiar with. It's estradiol, and that's the estrogen that is most common in women through childbearing years. Then we have estriol, which is the estrogen that is produced during pregnancy. And that's also and that's called E3, and that's also E4 is produced during pregnancy. That's the one that we don't test for. And then estrone, which is E1, is the only estrogen produced in the body after menopause. So what I'm going to do as we go through this series is just spread this out into short snippets. So when I come back on Monday, I'm going to talk about what are some of the symptoms of estrogen dominance, because that is far more common than the other way around, having more progesterone than estrogen. And I'll talk about that estrogen progesterone ratio. And then we'll move on and I'll talk about progesterone, and we'll talk about some other symptoms, because it does happen when people have too much progesterone. So we'll talk about those symptoms. After that, I will go into testosterone, etc., as we move through the month of October. So if you or anyone you know is wanting to know more about your hormones, struggling with menopause, wants to talk to someone about that, please share these lives with them. And I will also put the link to my newsletter in the comment field after this video in case anybody wants to read that story about me balancing my hormones. So wishing you all a wonderful weekend, and I hope that you find this series on hormones helpful.